One of the most important and overlooked aspects of deploying LLMs in production is evals. Now, setting up evals can be a little bit tricky, but it's a completely necessary step if you're actually going to use LLMs across your company, in your product, or in production at scale. So today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial of one of the most popular eval frameworks out there today, which is deepeval. Deepeval is an open source evaluation framework for large language models, and it comes out of the box with a ton of different evaluation methods that you can use, or you can write your own evaluation metrics. So in this walkthrough, we're going to explore the fundamental concepts of deepeval, how to set up your development environment to be able to run these, and we're going to create our first eval test. Let's dive right in. Okay, so we're here in the terminal, and the first thing we need to do is create a folder to hold all of our work so we can create a virtual environment to go in this folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a folder called deepeval test, and then I will navigate into that folder. And so now at the top of the quick start introduction of the documentation for deepeval, there will be a little bit of code to create your Python virtual environment. So all I did was paste this code, and now we've got our virtual environment, and we can see right here, we've confirmed that we have the virtual environment. So the next thing we're going to do is pip install deepeval itself into the virtual environment. And while that is running, the last step before our environment is complete is we have the option to log in to the deepeval web UI. Now, this is completely optional and it's free by Confident AI, which is the people who created the deepeval framework. But we have this option to essentially, instead of just looking at our evals in the terminal as it returns naturally, we'll have this nice interface that I'll show you later, where you can actually break down and do a little analytics and have a nicer situation. So right here, everything is installed. If you want to just skip to the next step and not use the web UI, you can. But if you want to use it, you'll run the command deepeval login. It'll basically ask you to authenticate, and then you're ready to actually create your first test. So let's go in and create our first test. So let's actually dive into the code that will run our first eval. So I already ran the command touch text example.py, which will create a file with that name for us to hold our code. And so we can just paste this in. This is directly from the quick start documentation. And let's actually walk through what this is. So first of all, the metric that we're evaluating on is the AnswerRelevancyMetric. And so basically what this does is it takes a user input and then what we want to actually respond with, and it checks to see if the response is relevant to the user input. So we have here the test case. This would be where the user input would go, which is what if these shoes don't fit? And what this AnswerRelevancyMetric evaluates is, did the LLM respond with a relevant answer? So what if these shoes don't fit, says a user of our application, and the LLM says we offer a 30-day full refund at no extra cost. That to me seems like a pretty relevant answer. And we can actually modulate the threshold of relevance from 0 being, even if it's completely irrelevant, it's going to pass. And then all the way up to 1, which is it needs to be extremely relevant and specific. So I would anticipate that this would be on the higher end of relevance. But to give an example, to make it more relevant, we could say we offer a 30-day full refund on all shoe purchases at no extra cost. So now we see we've improved the actual LLM response to be more relevant. So this is the code, but before we actually run the eval as a test, there's one step we need to add. We need to add our OpenAI key as an environment variable so that GPT-4 can actually run this answer relevancy metric. So let's do that very quickly. Okay, I'm flipping to the documentation very quickly because this is a part where some people might get tripped up. So we've been working through in this video the quick introduction on the deepeval documentation page. So we set up our Python environment, we installed deepeval, we logged into the Confident AI web UI platform if we wanted, and we've got our code. And the next step, if we're following along directly in the documentation, is to run this command, deepeval test run, on the file that we just created. Well, it says that our test case should have passed, but if you actually ran this command right now, you would actually fail because we have not connected OpenAI as an LLM to run the eval itself. So we need to navigate over to platform.openai.com/API-keys and create a new API key right up here. So you're going to create this and export it as an environment variable in Python. So you're going to run the export command, and you can see right here, we're going to do export OpenAI _API_key equals, and then paste in our command. So you're going to see that at the top of the next segment, but this is a really important sticking point because we don't want you to get errors whenever you run your first eval. So make sure you create a new private API key for OpenAI and export it as an environment variable so we can actually run our evals. Great, so I exported my OpenAI API key as an environment variable. And now we're ready to run our eval. So we just run deepeval test run and then the name of the file. So I'm going to hit enter and let's watch as, we've got a good response and it's running now and it's complete. We've done our first eval. It actually told us how many tokens it took to actually run the eval. It told us the score was 1, basically the maximum score, and gave a nice little explanation here. Now, it says at the bottom, run deepeval login to view evaluation results. So if we were logged in, it would actually give us a URL to open into the Confident AI web UI. So let's go and check that out right now. So let's just log into the Confident AI UI, which pairs perfectly with the deepeval framework set. So go to confident-ai.com, log in, and you see a nice dashboard here of stuff. I've got mine empty right now. It's just a dummy account. But if we scroll down to unit test, we can actually see that we ran some tests. And if we click into them, we're able to go and take a look and look at statistics. So this is a great application that allows you to interact more deeply with the data, especially at scale, and it tells you how much the test cost and everything like that. So if you're doing bulk data tasks, we only ran one, but if you're doing bulk, this is really necessary. And if we actually click on test cases, we actually can see what type of eval we ran, what was the input, what was the output, whether it passed, how long it took to run. So definitely recommend using the deepeval login feature and using the entire web UI they've built for you, because it really allows you to dive deeper into the analysis. So hopefully you feel comfortable getting started with deepeval as an eval framework and walking through the documentation and building your own evals using their native evals as well to improve your prompts and your production LLM applications.